Welcome to The Home and the Maker, sharing advice and encouragement about all topics homemaking and homesteading, and honoring the maker in all of it. Join Megan from Shine.fm for today's conversation.
There is a lot of work that goes into the homestead, and burnout is real. Even the land can get tired. And God intended for the land to rest. Even in the Old Testament of the Bible, God had instituted that every seventh year would be a Sabbath, a rest for the land. So when I saw that a family of homesteaders was choosing a year of rest, I was so interested. And you may know their content under the name Homesteading Family. So I'm grateful to have Carolyn joining me today to answer all my questions about what a year of rest looks like and what it looked like on her family's Idaho homestead. Thank you so much for joining me, Carolyn.
It's great to get to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So for someone listening or watching who doesn't really know your family too well, can you just share a little bit about your family and your homestead and what life with your family on your homestead looks like?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So we actually have 11 children, and we live on about 40 acres in the very far north of Idaho, where we grow a lot of our own food, pretty much all of our own meat, most of our own dairy and vegetables, and a good portion of the fruit that we bring in are all produced right here on the homestead, which is a lot of fun. It's a lot of learning lessons, but it's also a lot of work. And so, just having 11 kids, 3 of them are now adults, 2 of them are married, and they're moved out. But we still have 8 of them at home. So I think I did the math right there. So it keeps us hopping. Now we have them bringing home spouses and grandbabies and all sorts of great stuff. So when we talk about a busy life, we're still involved in all the modern things that everybody else is involved at. In fact, this week we've got all of the little kids are in VBS. And so, there's all the comings and goings of stuff like that, but then you stack the homestead on top of it, and it can get tiring if you're not careful.
Yeah, for sure. So how many years have you been doing this?
That's a little hard to say because we started homesteading before we actually even knew what the term homesteading was. Like back in the day, it wasn't as common of a term as it is now. And so for us, I think we would say that we really started this kind of lifestyle back when our first was born. He's now 22 and has a daughter of his own. So we've been doing some form of homesteading pretty seriously for, 20 plus years. Mm-hmm. But before that, we both kind of identify as having experiences with homestead, even in our younger years.
Yeah. So that amount of time, and then your first year of rest per se is 2025. So I know you talked about this in a pre-year of rest video. You also had posted a post-year of rest reflection video that people can watch. But just right here for anyone listening or watching, can you tell me a little bit about why your family chose to do a year of rest and then how that went?
Well, it actually all started when we bought the piece of property that we're on now that we thought was like, Lord willing, it's the forever property. And if you've ever moved from like rental property to rental property, you know that you have this like wait list of things that you are just dying to do once you get your own property. And so it had been quite a few years since we had been on our own land. And as we were on a journey to kind of like find out which area of the country we wanted to settle in. And so we kind of knew once we bought this that we were just going to pour everything we had into getting this property up and running for the way we saw life working on it. And so right at the beginning, my husband actually said, hey, I think we should work for 6 years and take a year off on the other side. On the 7th year. And we love God's principles, but we also don't see them as legalism. So we don't see like, this is something we have to do. It's not like everybody should do this, but we thought, hey, there's a lot of wisdom in biblical principles. And so actually, when he suggested it, I actually kind of laughed at him. I was like, yeah, right. You think we're actually going to take a break for a year? Like, I don't see it happening. We're not that kind of people. But he kind of held firm. He was like, "Yeah, I think we're gonna need a break. Year seven, we're gonna need a break." And so the further we got closer to year seven, the more I started going, "Oh my goodness, that sounds so good. Yes, we need to do that." Like, so by the time we got there, I was definitely fully on board and ready for a break. Um, and, for us, we had to really qualify what does a break mean, and I think we all have to do this because it's not like you can quit your job and just stay home and sleep in, and just for a year, just kind of like, yeah, we'll get up when we get up and do what we feel like doing. We can't get rid of all the kids. We can't stop homeschooling. It's like, what does a break look like? And for us, if we're going to be eating, we're going to have a milk cow because I've done that math. I know how expensive it is to bring in raw, good quality milk and dairy. So we had to kind of go, what does a break look like? And for us, we really determined that a break looked like no more big new infrastructure projects. So we were going to give the bank account a rest. We were going to give our energy a rest. The kids work so hard around here. They love all the things that we're doing. And so they just jump in wholeheartedly. So we were just going to take a year of still doing our regular maintenance level stuff. We still had a vegetable garden. We still raised the meat. We still raised the dairy. And I still preserved a lot of food. But we did say no to kind of a few of those items. And we said no to a lot of infrastructure projects that we would normally be doing.
Gotcha. So when it comes to thinking about this ahead of time, like we're going to let things go, but also knowing it's important to be prepared and stay on top of things and just the importance of being prepared in case there's an emergency. How did you combat those fears of, we're not doing enough, or we're not stewarding the land God has given us well this year, or we're not operating efficiently enough? Like, how did you combat those fears?
I think this is such a good question because it's there are multiple types of rest we can be talking about. There's a very physical element where we're giving our bodies a break. And there's a rest on the bank account where we're not doing big projects and we're letting the bank account build back up, the savings account build back up. But there is a rest of our soul. And what I think is something that maybe was really brought home to me during our year of rest is that we can literally be doing nothing and not be resting in our soul. Or we can have a very busy, dynamic life with lots going on and be operating out of a place of rest. And so I think at any point where we start dealing with those fears and we start going, I need to do more. And, it's so easy to do in our modern world. We all see the headlines in the news and we're all like, oh my goodness, I should have that gas tank filled with gas out in the backyard right now, that I filled up months ago and I should have done this and I should do that. And it drives this sense of fear. And it's like, if you can't find rest in the everyday moments, you won't find them when life slows down. Right. Because what will happen is you'll just have more time to spin out on your fears. And it'll actually be the opposite of restful. And I think we've all experienced that, in our modern world. There's so much noise, so much busyness, so much go, go, go. And then we finally slow down for a minute and we can barely sit still. And it's because our own brains kick in and go like, oh, you should, because of all the kind of fears that are cycling in the background. And then next thing we know, we're like, oh, we got to go do something because we have to, because I'm not doing enough and I've got to do more. And so, I think even going into the idea of a year of rest, you have to deal with those fears first thing. Otherwise, you're not going to actually get anything out of a year of rest besides more anxiety.
Yeah, for sure. So tell me about the burnout and what you were experiencing. I know you said that as you were getting towards year 7, you were looking forward to this year of rest more and more, but tell me about experiencing the tiredness in, say, year 5, where you're like, I am so tired, I'm burned out, it's not my year of rest yet, but what kept you going, especially when the work keeps adding up and you're just tired?
Well, I think it's important that any kind of lifestyle that we choose, whether it's homesteading or homeschooling or whatever it is, maybe entrepreneurship. My husband and I have two different businesses to add to the mix to keep us busy when we get bored, and any lifestyle that you choose, you have to find a way to make it sustainable. So you can't be dependent on the year of rest that's coming up to keep going. That's a place to slow down even more and maybe have a little more room for reflection, and to focus on other things. But it can't be the reason that you're still going or you're still surviving, because that is just walking in burnout, right? Yeah. And sometimes we have seasons, new babies in the house, where what that means is we have to slow way down. We have to say no to a lot of things. And there are whole seasons where we've had to say no to things because it's just not there. You have a finite amount of energy. And running through that just means that you're spending your life doing the things instead of the relationships. Because it's always the relationships that suffer, right? It's like the to-do list is the thing that becomes the priority somehow, and not the relationships. And so you always have to live within your own margin. Like, you always have to keep that margin so you have room for the people. Right. Otherwise, you're just not sustainable. You're kind of living on something that is just disappearing under your feet. Mm-hmm. And that's a way to burn out no matter what you're doing.
Yeah, for sure. So having done a year of rest, now on the other side of that, do you find yourself reprioritizing some of the things in your life?
Well, I think I should probably qualify what happened in our year of rest, because it didn't quite go the way we thought. We did a really good job saying no to all the projects. Everything was like, no, we're not going to do that. And we were feeling really good about it. We had more time to do things with the family, and just everything worked at a little bit of a slower pace because we weren't trying to get these big projects done. Excuse me. But then my daughter got engaged. And they announced, kind of dream of all dreams for us, they would love to build a little house on the homestead and participate in the homestead from their own little household, kind of on the side where they have a little bit of their own room, which was wonderful. But we went from a year of no projects to realizing that we needed to put on a wedding and build a little cabin for them to move into in about a 3-month period of time. Otherwise, here in North Idaho, you get into winter and it's just like nothing moves forward there. Yeah. And so we were like, let's just do it. Let's just get it done. And, maybe that's the blessing of having come off of a half year of rest, is we were energetic enough that we were like, let's do it. We can do it. It definitely moved us a different direction than the year of rest, I will say. we were like all hands on deck, go as hard as you can go for several months. But we got it done. We had a beautiful wedding here, and they were able to move right into their spot. It still has lots of finishing touches that need to be done, like siding, like major finishing touches. But they have been in there now, for about 9 months. Wow. And just are totally loving it. And we're loving having them here. So it kind of definitely was more like a half year of rest and a half year of working really, really hard trying to get everything done. And then what was your question again? I've already forgotten it.
I kind of forgot my question too. Oh yeah. Okay. So I was going to ask what you were going to do differently, or if you found yourself reprioritizing things having taken that year of rest.
Yeah. I think, the way we organize a year, my husband and I, is at the beginning of the year, somewhere in January, usually we sit down and we create a list of what are all the things on our wish list for projects for the year. And we look at his, we look at mine, we look at the household ones that are the front porch is falling down. We really can't ignore that. We moved into a place that had a lot of deferred maintenance. And so we're still playing catch up to that in some places. And then we kind of put together a rough plan with a priority order. Sometimes that gets thrown out the window because something happens around the property that just needs attention right then. And other times we're able to just work right through it. So I think coming off the year of rest, I think the biggest thing was for us, we were naturally a little disinclined to overpack that list. Right? We were kind of like, oh, we could do all these things, but wow, that sounds tiring. So that's kind of what we really see on this side is we like to talk a lot about momentum. You start working at a pace, a momentum that's like the ball gets rolling and it's rolling and it's rolling faster, and it gets really hard to slow it down. And so you just, even when you finish all the busy stuff, you're like jumping right back into being just as busy, and you fill the time because it's really hard to just choose to slow down that momentum. It feels like you should just be moving that fast all the time. And I really feel like that year of rest just helped us to kind of slow the momentum down. And now we're looking at it and we're like, yeah, maybe we'll get to that. Maybe we won't, but we're not going to push too hard for it.
That's awesome. So do you guys see yourselves taking another year of rest in the future?
We do. It's actually interesting. We've started categorizing things and saying, hey, in this 7-year period, I'm hoping we can accomplish this, or before the end of this. Or even saying like, yeah, that's probably not this 7-year period. That's probably the next one. So I think we've kind of unofficially adopted this as our time telling device, like work hard for 6 years, do all the things, and then take a year of like slow down, take it off, take more family vacations, more camping trips, more of those things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think so. I think it was a really, even though it didn't pan out all the way we thought, I think it was really helpful and really enjoyable for us.
Well, and I think what's really cool is that, I mean, and you kind of alluded to this in the reflection video of your year of rest, that it's almost like God had prepared this year of rest for you, knowing that you were going to have a wedding to plan. So it's like you didn't have all these other projects going on, but now you were going to plan a wedding and build a cabin. So that's really cool.
Yeah. I think he was like, okay, you don't actually need a year of rest. You only need like 8 months. And then then I'm going to keep this like earmarked for another project you guys don't know about yet. So yeah, it's a good thing. You always look back and see how the Lord has ordered your steps.
So tell me about how in this season, like kind of expound upon how God maybe met you in your soul during this season. And I know in one of the videos you had shared that your status quo really didn't change. I mean, you were kind of doing the same things that you were already doing. So it's not like you were any less busy, I guess, that you were doing the same things you always had done as in a typical year. But as your family kind of settled into a new rhythm for those 8 months, like what was the Lord teaching you during that time?
Yeah, I think what comes out when you start slowing down, for me, it was really this realization of how much of my identity is wrapped up on and going and doing, like getting this done and doing this and doing this. And so what I really felt the Lord was speaking to me over this time was to intentionally rest. Like that was actually my job for this season, was to rest. And again, not the kind of rest that means we're not doing anything, because it was still a full schedule for me. And especially, a lot of the big infrastructure projects that we're doing around the property, I'm not the one managing them. Josh is often the one who's managing them. He used to be a contractor years ago. And so that's kind of, a thing that he does and does very well. So for me, the everyday didn't look that different. One decision we made was to go down to 1 milk cow instead of 2. That actually took a lot of pressure off for us here. So think we were only getting like 5 gallons of milk a day into the kitchen, not 10 gallons. Okay. So that's a big difference when you're the one responsible for figuring out what to do with them. But it was really this message of understanding how much, when I slow down, I started struggling with my own identity, because to me, I've always been, I'm that type A, I'm driven. And apparently my brain connects to the fact that I'm a doer. And that's where I get my identity. And so as I slowed down, I really I struggled with feeling useless at first. And like, I'm useless. Like, what am I doing? What is there for me to do? And which is, really a joke. If you know my life, it's really not that slow. But I had to start questioning and spending a lot of time in prayer of like, why am I struggling with feeling useless when I'm like just working a normal everyday life? And I had to realize it's because I put my value not in being a child of God, but instead of being a doer. And look at all that I've gotten done at the end of the day. And look at my to-do list is all checked off. And that feels so good. When that kind of shift happened, I really had to pray about that a lot and be like, oh, wrong value set. I am valuing the wrong thing in myself, and I'm identifying myself as the wrong thing. And so it really helped me to make a shift of rest in my soul as I moved away from like operating out of those fears of, who am I if I'm not doing anything? And what happens if I got sick in a way that I had to stay in bed for months on end? Like, who would I be on the inside? And realizing, oh, I wouldn't handle that very well because I wouldn't be up and doing things. So it really helped me lean into what rest really looks like in a soul way.
So good. Thank you for sharing that. So I have just one more question. You have some of your older kids, I'm sure, who are helping you out around the homestead, and maybe, on an off year doing some of those bigger projects. But in a year of rest, I'm sure this impacted your family too. So tell me about how this played out all together in your family's life in that season.
Yeah, I think for us, because we were doing fewer big projects, it calmed down the everyday work, because we weren't trying to like quick get all of our normal stuff done so we could go, do this construction project or do this other thing that was going on. So what that meant was we were all able to work at a little bit of a slower pace and all able to like focus on relationship a little bit more. But we were able to do a little bit more of the fun things that we often talk about doing. And so the kids really enjoyed it. They love working on the construction projects too, because there's nothing quite like seeing something get done and then getting to enjoy the result of it. But I think for them, they got to do a lot more of the off-farm things that, as a family, we got to go spend more time in the river. We got to go do more things like that we just really enjoyed. So, it's always good. It's good in every season because we have to learn how to exist and how to rest in every season. And so they just got a different glimpse of what life can look like in a rest year.
That's so good. Well, thank you so much for your time and just sharing how this year of rest was for your family and how this is helping you base your plans for the future off of what you learned in 2025. So thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, well, and I would just say really quickly in parting that like, you don't have to aim for a whole year of rest. It might be that you just take a week every so often and see what does that feel like and who are you when you slow down, and are you truly resting even when it's rest time, or are you just switching to something else in your mind instead?
That is good. So good. Well, thank you, Carolyn. And if you're listening or watching and you want to learn more about all of Carolyn's family's homesteading expertise, you can visit their website, homesteadingfamily.com.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Home and the Maker podcast. And for other podcasts from Shine.fm, visit the Shine.fm podcast channel.